The wind moves first. It sweeps across the plain with a sound like paper tearing, lifting the dust into long, thin ribbons that twist in the glare of the sun. The air is dry enough to crack lips and sting eyes. Every breath feels stolen from a kill. And far away, where the earth blurs into the horizon, a figure comes forward, slow and alone. He's a rider without company, and the plain gives him no welcome. The heat bends the line of his body so that he seems almost a shadow, a wavering mark against the sky. His horse walks with its head low, foam dried white around its mouth, each step carving another hollow print into the hard ground. The saddle creaks with the rhythm of bone on wood. A coil of rope swings at his side, pale against the dust-dark leather, and behind his shoulder rests a rifle. Dull and worn from sun, there's no sound of birds, no sound of rivers, only the long whisper of the wind, the faint rattle of spurs, and the low moan of the dry earth beneath their weight. Ahead of him lies a town. If the name of this place was ever spoken with pride, the wind has long since carried it away. A cluster of wooden buildings tilts in the sun, their boards faded, and cracked like skin left too long to burn. The windows are dim, most are empty. The doors swing on rusted hinges without help, pulled by the wind like the breath of some ghost. This is a place that stands not because it is strong, but because it has not yet fallen. He rides closer. The horse's hooves strike the packed street, sending up small clouds that drift slow as smoke. And in that street, life holds on, cautious, watchful. Women sweep the doorways, their skirts heavy with dust, knowing the wind will undo their work. By nightfall, men sit in the shade of awnings, hats pulled low, glasses of whiskey warm in their hands, eyes fixed anywhere but on the stranger. Even the children, barefoot and thin, move quietly, their game silent, as if the land itself has taught them that to make noise is to be noticed, and to be noticed is to risk. The saloon doors open and close, without a hand to guide them. The wind moves them like a pendulum, a mark of passing time. From inside comes the faint clink of glass on wood, a sound too small for a place that has seen so much. The rider does not look toward it. He does not look toward the men who watch him from under their hats. His eyes stay forward. There is no hurry in him, only the slow, unbroken motion of a man who has been riding so long that the distance itself has become a companion. He has not come for a drink. He has not come for rest. Beneath the tired sun, every step of the horse draws him closer to the reason he has crossed so much earth, a name that has led him to this street, to this town where even the wind seems to hold its breath. Inside the saloon, a glass tips and spills, but no one moves to wipe it up. The men, they're no better than to speak. They know the silence that comes with a lonely stranger. The main street narrows where the buildings lean inward like tired men. He passes beneath their shadows, his hand resting loosely on the worn horn of his saddle, the rope coiled tight at his side. And there, beyond the first row of houses, is where he has come. A narrow alley, half hidden, and at the end of it, a single door. A door that leads to the truth he has carried in his chest like a stone. He stops his horse. Dust swirls around them, clinging to boots, to skin, to every line of tired leather. For a long time he does not move. He only listens to the breath of his horse, to the wind scraping across the street, to the hollow beat of his own heart. Somewhere behind one of these weathered walls is the thing he has come to find. A secret that has lived in the cracks and the dust waiting. And he knows when he opens that door, there will be no turning back. The town waits. Even the wind stills for a heartbeat. The sun presses down like judgment, and then he dismounts. Boots hit the earth. Spurs ring, sharp. In the silence, he ties the horse to the post, gathers the rope in his hand, and walks into the alley. The shadows close around him. The heat grows softer here, though the air feels heavier. At the end of the alley, The door waits. He stands before it, hand on. The rough wood, feeling the grain under his fingertips, feeling the weight of every mile that has led him to this place. Beyond this door lies something that will not let him rest. The wind picks up again, and with it comes a swirl of dust, rising and turning like smoke around his boots. When he pushes the door, it will open on the next chapter, a chapter written in the same dry air, but with a cost that has yet to be paid. The street behind him holds its breath, and the dust, caught in the sunlight, turns and turns, waiting. A lantern swings slowly in the doorway, its light painting a long and wavering line across the floorboards. The air inside the saloon is heavy, thick with the smell of whiskey, sweat, and the long dry road. There is no laughter here, only the slow, unsteady tune of a piano that has been broken longer than anyone can remember. Its keys stick, its strings groan, yet a man still plays. His fingers are cracked, swollen from years of hard work, but he coaxes sound from the ruin, one note at a time, like someone trying to wake a memory that does not wish to be woken. The room listens. Cards shuffle, slow and careful, like dry leaves, brushing together. Boots scrape against the warped planks, leaving behind streaks of mud that the wind will soon turn back to dust. At the tables, men lean over the small circles of their game, their faces lined, their eyes dulled, their hands resting close to knives that sleep on the wood beside them. In the shadows of the room, a thin dog lies curled beneath a bench, its ribs rise and fall with shallow breaths. Flies gather at its ears, unbothered by the lazy twitch of its tail. From time to time, the dog raises its head as though listening, then lowers it again to wait. Women move between desks, skirts brushing the grain of the floor. Their hands are practiced, pouring, clearing, carrying, but their eyes never rest. They scan faces, hands, sets of shoulders, always measuring the moment before it breaks. Every one of them has learned that in a place like this, trouble does not come loud. It creeps, it waits, and when it strikes, it does so without warning. Outside, the wind claws at the walls. It pushes sand into every crack, hissing like a tide that never rests. The lantern flames tremble with each gust, and the wooden fronts of the buildings lean just a little farther away from the sky. Beyond the street, the land is endless and cruel, a stretch of thorn and bone that swallows the sun whole. And then, into this tired place, a stranger comes. The door opens, letting in a wave of red light from the dying day and the dry scent of the open plain. For a moment, the music stumbles. The cards pause in mid-shuffle. Boots stop moving. The stranger brushes the dust from his shoulders with slow hands, steps inside, and lets the door close behind him. No one looks at him directly. Not yet. In this town, a man is weighed before he is spoken to. His boots are worn, his coat long, his hat low. There is no mark of wealth, no shine of weapon, no easy smile. Only a sunburned face and eyes that hold a road longer than this one. He does not go to the bar. He does not call for a drink. He chooses a table in the farthest corner, pulls out the chair, and sits. The hat is placed beside him, the dust still clinging to its rim. For a while he does nothing. Only his eyes move, slow, across the room. The dog lifts its head and looks at him, as if it knows something no one else will say aloud. The piano player hesitates. For a moment the tune falters, then begins again, softer, as if the music itself has chosen to step back. The stranger waits. Time folds around him. And slowly, the room begins to move again. Cards whisper. Whiskey glasses scrape. But the air has changed, almost invisible, like the moment before a storm rolls in. Outside, the sky burns in deep colors, orange and red spilling over the horizon, the last warmth before the night. The wind picks up, carrying the sound of dry brush rattling like bones. Somewhere beyond the edge of town, a coyote cries, sharp and lonely, and no one answers. In this room, There are no easy hours, no soft endings. The walls are stained with every fight that was ever fought here, with the dust of every man who sat where the stranger now sits. They remember, though they do not speak. The lantern light flickers. The stranger leans back, the shadow of his hat long across the table. Whatever brought him here is not yet spoken. But it waits, as the town waits, as the music waits, as the night itself waits for the first sound that will break the silence. And in the dying light, the stranger's hand closes around the tables. Edge, steady and patient, as though he knows that something is coming, and it has already begun. Outside, the wind changes, and with it, the story begins to move toward whatever waits beyond this night. Under a sky the color of lead, the first. Sound is the groan of the earth itself. Wind sweeps low across the plain, dragging with it a whisper that rattles through the dry grass, grass brittle as old parchment. Every blade bows in the same direction, as if the land itself leans away from the weight of the coming storm. The sun has vanished. But there is no time to stay still. She rises again. There is work waiting everywhere. The bread must be softened with water and warmed, the stove coaxed to life, the fence mended before the goats wander. Each task calls without kindness, and yet she answers them. Outside, the land stretches far in every direction, endless and empty. There are bones of wagons scattered where once someone tried to cross and could not. There are marks of coyotes pressed into the soil, weaving paths no human follows. It is a lonely place, a place that asks for everything and gives back almost nothing. The sun climbs. Its gold turns to white, its warmth still weak. Shadows shorten, the fences stand. The fields wait, dry and stubborn. She pauses at the door once more, her hand resting on the frame as she looks out at all of it. For a moment, her face softens. It is not joy, not yet. But somewhere behind those tired eyes is a spark, a small, unbroken thing that neither wind nor work, nor the wide, empty land has managed to take from her dot, and so she steps out again. The bucket swings at her side. In the distance, a hawk circles, slowly over the plain. The day begins to unfold, long and heavy, but she moves forward because there is no other way but forward. Soon, the sky will burn hotter, and the dust will lift, and the long road will lie empty beneath the light. But she will still be here, working, waiting, keeping something alive that the land itself seems to have forgotten. And somewhere far beyond the horizon, something else is moving toward her, though she does not yet know it. The land, silent and patient, holds its breath. The next shadow has already begun to form. A wheel strikes a hidden stone, and the whole stagecoach jolts so hard that every breath inside is knocked out in one motion. Dust rises behind them in a pale cloud, rolling like smoke over the empty road. The driver leans forward on the reins, his long coat whipping in the wind. The horses breathe in harsh snorts, their flanks darkened with sweat, their hooves scraping at rock and dirt as they climb the narrow path where the earth splits open into deep canyons. The sound of the wheels becomes the sound of a heartbeat. Fast and unsteady. Inside the coach there is no comfort. The wood creaks, the lantern sways. Faces hold tight to the dim light. A man with a scar across his cheek keeps both hands on a leather bag, his knuckles pale from the pressure. The woman beside him clutches a Bible so close to her chest that the hard edge leaves a mark in her arms. Her lips move without a sound. They know not to ask where the road ends. The land itself looks as though it could swallow them without trace. The canyon walls close in. Red stone rises like towers, each carved by centuries of wind. Shadows stretch across the path like thin, cold fingers. Above them, a hawk turns slow circles, its cry slicing the silence and fading again into the vastness. The driver sees it before. The rest do. He hauls hard on the reins. The stagecoach groans and shudders to a stop. Across the road lies a fallen tree. Its branches sprawl like a trap. Freshly fallen, too straight to be an accident. No one speaks. Inside, the passengers hold their breath. They know what it means when a road is blocked in a canyon. The driver climbs down. His boots scrape the gravel, the sound loud in the hush. He walks slowly forward, eyes moving to the ridges above. The canyon is very still. It is the kind of stillness that watches. Dust slips from the rocks. A pebble tumbles once, then comes to rest. In the coach, the scarred man lowers his bag to the floor. His hand hovers over the worn grip of a revolver. He does not speak. He listens. The older woman presses. Her eyes shut. Her prayer, now whispered, sounds like the rustling of leaves. The driver touches the fallen branches. They are cut clean, laid across the path with care. This is no work of wind. And then the wind itself rises. It slips down the canyon walls, carrying the dry scent of stone, and the faintest sound, so faint that it might only be imagined. The horses grow restless, stamping, breathing fast. Their ears turn toward the heights. Canyon holds its breath with them. The red cliffs, the empty sky, the narrow road, all of it seems to lean forward, waiting. For a moment, no one moves. The driver's hands hover above the branches, ready to drag them aside, knowing well what that first movement might bring down from the rocks above. The scarred man's fingers tighten on the gun. A bead of sweat rolls slowly across his face. The older woman looks to the crucifix that hangs around her neck. Her lips stop moving. The prayer has gone silent, and only her breath remains. Somewhere far above on the lip of the canyon, a stone shifts. It is so small that it could mean nothing. But it is enough. Every muscle tightens. Every eye lifts to the ridges. The West has many ways of testing those who pass through. Sometimes it is hunger. Sometimes it is thirsty. Sometimes it is men. In the silence, waiting is as fraught as danger. And as the wind presses harder, swirling the dust, the truth becomes clear. Something is coming. Whether out of greed or fear or the deep, hungry law of these canyons, something is coming. The driver's hands close the branches. The scarred man steadies his gun. The horses throw their heads, ears flat. This is the moment that stands between the road ahead and the road's end. And somewhere in that high red stone, in a shadow no wider than a hand, a figure begins to move. The waiting breaks. The wind, the canyon, the dust, all of it holds its breath to see who will move first. The stagecoach stands still on the narrow road, the tree like a scar across the earth, and the land itself watches, knowing that one choice now will echo far beyond this single canyon. Far away, where the trail will lead, another town waits, unaware that its story has already begun here on this silent stretch of stone. The bell tolls, low and uneven, and the sound rolls like slow thunder through the dry streets of the frontier town. Inside the jailhouse, the air hangs heavy with dust and old iron. Flies circle in the strip of sunlight that falls across the wooden floor. Each swing of their wings is loud against the deep, waiting silence. A man sits alone in one cell. The rope around his wrists has rubbed the skin raw, but he does not move. His head is bent forward, hair falling in shadows across his face. In the stillness, he seems carved from the same wood as the bench he sits on. The sheriff leans back in. His chair, boots crossed on the desk, the hat pulled low to hide his eyes. The warped clock on the wall ticks unevenly, a small, stubborn sound that marks the slow march towards something final. From outside, voices drift in. A murmur at first, then louder anger, fear, the sharp pitch of people who have been waiting too long for justice and no longer care if justice comes clean. The man in the cell lifts his head at last. There is no plea in his eyes, no quick hope for escape. Only a tired kind of calm, as if the long miles of this land have already judged him and found their sentences. He looks once toward the barred window. Dust moves in the beam of sunlight. Like spirits turning slow in the air, the sheriff studies him. For a moment he says nothing, his jaw tightening as the bell outside rings again. In the far corner, a rifle leans against the wall. Its wooden stock is worn smooth, the metal polished by years of hard use. When the light shifts, its shadow falls across the floor, long and thin, pointing straight at the man in the cell. The voices outside rise again. Bootsteps scrape the boards of the porch. A low chant begins, the town pulling itself together like a rope tightening. The sheriff stands, slow, deliberate. He takes the rifle in his hands and the iron key from the peg. The prisoner does not look away. For a moment, the two men are caught in the same silence, two lives measured against one choice. The key turns. The lock gives with a dull sound, and the door swings wide on tired hinges. The sheriff does not speak. He does not need to. The man rises, the rope falling loose around his wrists now, skin chafed but free. His shoulders are straight, but the weight he carries cannot be seen by eyes alone. They walk together to the door. The sunlight outside is blinding after so much dimness. It spills in across the floor, turning the dust to gold. The crowd waits. Their faces are a wall. Some hold anger, some hold fear. All hold the hunger for something to be made right. The church bell keeps ringing. Each strike is like a heartbeat. The sheriff steps forward first, the rifle in his hands. Behind him, the prisoner follows. The land stretches away on all sides, hard and empty. A place that remembers everything and forgives very little. In this land, justice is not a word on paper. It is the line between shadow and light. And as they walk into that line, the dust rises around their boots, blown by a wind that smells of dry sage and long miles still to come. Somewhere, far down the road, another bell begins to ring. And what happens next will carry its echo there. The hill is quiet at sunset, so quiet that the sound of a single step seems to carry for miles. Dry grass bends under a boy's boots as he climbs the narrow path. The wind moves around him in long sighs, picking at his shirt, pulling at the small bundle of flowers he has pressed against his chest. Above the town, the graveyard waits. The markers are nothing more than wood, leaning and split, tilted like tired sentinels who have been left too long in the weather. The earth is cracked around them, and what grows here grows out of stubbornness alone. Thin weeds, gray-green, clinging to life. The boy walks among them slowly, reading the names with his eyes, his lips silent. He knows this place. He has come before. He stops at one grave, kneels in the dust. With his small hands he brushes the dirt away from the carved letters, tracing them like a map he already knows by heart. The flowers he has brought are wild and uneven, pulled from the edge of the river where they grow hidden among the stones. He sets them down with care. Then, from his pocket, he takes a flat piece of slate and presses it beside the flowers. A marker for a marker, his only gift. The wind lifts his hair and takes his words when he speaks. They are soft words, spoken not to be heard, but to be left behind, folded into the earth. Behind him, the town lies still. Thin lines of smoke rise from the crooked chimneys. The sound of a blacksmith's hammer comes faintly, then fades. A coyote moves along the ridge. Its shape is a pale shadow against the reddening sky. It stops for a moment, its eyes catching the light, then slips away soundless, its thin body vanishing among the stones. The sun falls lower. The graves stretch their shadows long. One by one, the stars begin to appear, sharp as nails, cold as the air that begins to settle. The boy stays. For a while he only sits, his small hands folded, his head bowed. It is a stillness that seems older than he is, older than the town, older than the graves themselves. When he stands, the bundle of flowers has already begun to wilt. But they will remain, just as everything remains here, the stones, the names. The things too heavy to carry back down the hill. The path down is darker now. He turns once, looking back at the hill, at the rows of markers leaning into the wind. They do not move. They never do. As he walks back toward the faint glow of the town, the graveyard behind him seems to breathe. It waits, as it always waits, for another day, for another bundle of flowers, for more names to be added to its silence. The boy's steps grow quicker as he nears the first fences, but the sound of the wind follows him, and with it the memory of all he has left behind. Above, the stars stretch wide across the black, uncountable, unchanging, their cold fire watching the earth without ever coming closer. And in that endless watching, a question begins to rise of how long a town can hold on when the hill above it grows more crowded with every year. The night deepens. A single lantern burns at the edge of the street, its light, small but steady. The boy steps into that light, and the hill fades into shadow. But it is still there, and it will be there when morning comes. The first sound is no voice. It is the whisper of snow, grains of it hissing against pine trunks, and the wooden walls of cabins half buried, their roofs bent low as if in prayer. In this high country, winter does not wait for permission. It comes early, and it comes with weight. Frost has made every breath into smoke. Men move slowly among the trees, their bodies wrapped in rough wool and old fur, their rifles slung across narrow shoulders. The ground beneath them groans, each boot sinking into the crust of ice that hides the dark soil below. These are hunters, not for sport, but for survival. Behind them, in those low cabins, families sit in the pale dimness of firelight, counting what is left, dividing nothing into smaller pieces. The hunters know this. They feel it in their bones as surely as they feel the cold. The wind in the pines never stops. It speaks to them in long sighs, rattling branches, curling around their ears. Sometimes it sounds like words, sometimes like the voices of those who did not last the winter before. Step after step, they follow tracks that barely mark the surface. Each track is a hope. Each mark in the snow is the shape of a chance to last another month. Hunger has made them slow. It has narrowed their faces, hollowed out their cheeks, but it has sharpened their eyes. One of them, the youngest, lifts a hand. He has seen something. Through the trees, where the snow gathers deepest, there is movement. A thin elk, its ribs showing, nose to the wind, searching for grass buried beneath the frost. No one speaks. They have no words to spare. One by one, they slide their rifles forward. The metal is so cold that it bites through the cloth of their gloves. The forest holds its breath. Even the wind seems to still, as if the trees themselves are waiting. Then, a crack, sharp as a breaking branch. The sound tears across the valley, echoing from trunk to trunk. Birds rise in a frantic burst, their wings a blur against the white. Smoke curls from the muzzle. The echo fades. For a heartbeat, there's only silence. And then the hunters move. They do not shout. They do not celebrate. They step forward slowly, their boots sinking deep as they approach. The animal lies in the snow. Its breath is already fading. Its eyes, wide and dark, catch the last gray light of day. The hunters kneel. They put their hands on its hide, as if to thank it. They are silent. Snow begins to fall again, slowly at first, then more thickly, soft and unending. It gathers on their shoulders, on the barrels of the rifles, on the still body at their feet. They work quickly, not out of cruelty, but out of the knowledge of what hunger does when night comes early. When they rise, there will be meat. Not enough, but enough for now. Enough to see them a little longer. Above them, the pines buckle under the storm's weight. The wind begins again, a long and lonely sound. They turn toward home, their backs bowed, their faces set against the white. And, as they go, the snow erases their tracks behind them, as though they were never there at all. Only shadows passing through a forest belonging to winter. Somewhere far off, beyond the trees, a single cabin waits with its thin line of smoke. A child stands at the window, watching the snowfall, listening for the sound of boots. The night will come before they return. And in that dark, the only light will be the fire, and the small hope that this kill has bought them one more day. What lies beyond that day, no one can yet say. The snow falls without end, and the high country holds its secrets close. The rain begins before dawn. It does not come as a gentle mist, but as a wall of water, falling from a sky the color of old iron. By the time the first light reaches the earth, the trails are no longer roads, but rivers of mud, wide and deep, swallowing everything that tries to move upon them. The wagons sink to their hubs, wooden wheels turning slow, groaning as if the very weight of them is too much for this drowned land. Oxen strain in their harnesses, shoulders slick with sweat and rain. Steam rises from their broad backs as they pull, step after step, through a world that seems determined to hold them in place. Behind them, men push with all their strength. Mud cakes their boots, pulling at every step until it feels as if the ground itself does not want to let them go. Their hands slip on the wet wood, their faces streaked with dirt and rain. Their breaths come hard and loud, vanishing in the roar of water. Beside the wagons, women walk with skirts heavy and soaked. Their hair sticks to their faces, and their arms carry children whose heads rest on their shoulders, too tired now to lift their own weight. Each step is taken in silence, for words cost strength, and there is none to spare. The open land has become a slow, endless mire. The horizon is only a blur, a line where earth and sky have melted into the same color. Same grief, still they move. Because there is no other choice. By evening, when the light begins to thin, they stop. The oxen collapse where they stand, hooves sunk in mud. Men and women unstrap what they can, and together, with hands numb and shaking, they light small fires. The flames sputter, fighting against the rain, but at last they hold. Steam rises from their coats as they sit near the orange glow. The children press in, eyes half closed, cheeks pale and hollow. The sound of rain is everywhere, on canvas, on wood, on flesh. It drowns the world until only its rhythm remains. Someone pulls out a mouth harp. The tune is faint, thin as a breath, but it winds its way between the drops of rain, and for a little while, the sound becomes a small defiance. There's no talk of what lies ahead. No one counts the miles already behind them, nor the miles still waiting. They know the truth too well. This road takes people. It does not care who has strength and who does not. Every mile is a test, and there are many who will not see the end of it. The night deepens, the fires burn low. The rain goes on. By the time the gray of morning comes, the fires are ash, and their clothes are wet again. But they rise. They always rise. The oxen are harnessed once more, and the wheels begin to spin. Step after step, through mud that clings like hands, they go forward. The land gives nothing. No food, no comfort, no promise. But that does not stop either. There's only the slow, steady pull, the sound of rain, and the thin line of wagons moving east to west through a land that both resists them and calls them onward. And somewhere ahead, though no one dares to speak it, there is a hope that when the rains finally end, the earth will dry and the sky will open, and they will find a place where the mud no longer holds them down. Until then, the trail goes on, and they follow it, step after step, through the gray into whatever waits beyond. The wind moves first. Long before a shape appears on the horizon, long before the creak of leather or the soft strike of hooves against dry earth, the wind returns to this land. It carries with it a sound that is not quite a song, not quite a warning, only the restless breath of a place that has learned how to wait. Years have passed. Enough years that the ruts carved by wagons have been swallowed by grass. The raw scars they left are softened now, but they are not gone. They run just beneath the surface like old wounds hidden under new skin. A rider appears, small against the wide stretch of land. Dust trails him like smoke in a wind that never rests. His shadow moves with him, long and wavering, crossing ground where so many had once walked. He sees what the land has become. Fences leaning in defeat, their rails gray and splintered. Cabins left behind, doors swinging on broken hinges, wood silvered to the color of bones. There are no voices here, no call of a saw or hammer, no sound of a child running in the yard. Only the hollow whisper of the wind through cracks in the walls. The rider slows at a dry creek bed, where once there had been water, clear and cold, a place for weary hands and animals to drink. Now only dust lies there, fine as powder, clinging to boots, clinging to the past. He dismounts. The saddle groans as the weight lifts, and for a moment, the horse shakes its head, snorting into the empty air. The man steps forward slowly. In the silence, his boots make the only sound, a soft crunch against the earth. He stops at a grave. The grass has grown long here, soft blades moving like water in the breeze. The marker is nothing but a board, tilted, its letters are rough and fading. With a hand that is worn and stained by sun and age, he brushes the dust away. He traces the initials carved there, a name cut into the wood by someone long gone. There are many markers, some with names, some only marked by a stone. Each one a life, a story that ended here and was left for the wind to remember. He stands. For a long time, he does not speak. He only listens, and in that listening, there are voices. Not loud, not clear, but the faint sound of them, men straining at wagon wheels, women singing soft to their children, the creak of wood, the crack of a whip, the prayer whispered into hands that no one else could hear. The wind carries them all. This place is memorable. He knows, as everyone who comes here knows, that the West is not empty. It looks empty, but every grain of dust, every blade of grass, has been shaped by all those who came before. Those who fought, those who built, those who dreamed, those who fell. And for all of them, the land waits. It has always waited. The man takes a step back. He lays his palm against the marker one last time. He does not leave flowers. There are none to give. Only the silence. Only the wind. Then he turns, mounts his horse, and rides on. Behind him, the graves remain. The cabins stand, their doors swinging slowly in the afternoon light. It is quiet now. But the silence is full, and it holds the weight of every footstep that has ever crossed here. The land does not forget. It will not. It waits for the next traveler, as it waited for him. And far out beyond the horizon, beyond the stretch of dust and bone, clouds gather. A line of gray rising in the distance, like another story about to begin. The wind carries that. Sent forward, and the earth, silent and watchful, prepare again.